We are live on Proline TV talking NASCAR. And we have 3 more races to go before the playoffs begin. One more road course, unfortunately, that's this week. Richmond, and after that, Daytona will wrap up the regular season on Saturday evenings. So there's that. We're going to recap what happened this past Sunday at Iowa. And, of course, get you ready for Shane Van Gisbergen's win on Sunday. So how's it going, CJ? We're doing from RotoWire.
Happy to be here, counting down the races till the playoffs. We'll get through Watkins Glen. It's a better of the road courses, I have to say, at least from my perspective.
It looks that way. I was doing just reminding myself of it with some of the past races. And yeah, it looks that way. Looks like there's, there was a lot more drama last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think the track is pretty fast. So they refer to it sometimes as a super speedway of road courses. So these cars can build up the momentum, and watching them try to break down into that bus stop chicane before you get to the carousel turn. If we have Dale Earnhardt out there yelling, the carousel, the whole time.
That needs to stop, but
it's a pretty cool spot on the track. But yeah, good race last year. Hopefully it's good again.
Yeah. Okay. And it was a lot of wrecks too. So that was made it interesting. Unfortunately, it was a fuel mileage race when it all came down to it, which is what happened on Sunday. So as we recap Sunday's race, it was definitely far and away better than last year's race, which was just really boring. And that's saying from a Ryan Blaney fan. It was just, there was nothing going on in the race last year. In this year's race, everything about it, I think, would have been perfect if it would have been for all of those back-to-back cautions that made it a fuel mileage win for William Byron and stole the race from Brad Keselowski, who I just happened to pick and had a lot of money on as a long shot to win the race. So yes, I was very upset, but this has happened many times in my NASCAR career. Where you have the best driver and the driver gets screwed out of it for whatever reason. But that's what it was. It was William Byron, and they whether it was on purpose or that was the only strategy they could employ. They got very fortunate with all of those cautions, and he hung on to win. And it was just Keselowski and even Ryan Blaney came flying, but Keselowski especially had more than enough time. I got close enough, but it didn't matter. I mean, this is Iowa. And once again, because of this car, even though it's better than the old car, these are some of the issues that you have. Not just the fact that you can have all these fuel mileage races, but you could also, it's just so much tougher to pass. It just started going down, and you started realizing with about 15, 20 laps to go that there was no way that they were going to catch him unless there was a caution.
Yeah, there was a stretch was just shy of about 100 laps where the longest stretch of any laps, actually it happened to be green, was 8 laps long. There were 9 cautions within there. So definitely going to become a fuel mileage race at that point. And like you said, Keselowski looked great. But Blaney was definitely closing as well. Right when he got to the bumper, though, basically stalled out, wasn't able to make a pass, just like you said. And I think throughout the entire day, what was interesting to me was that the preferred line was just slightly up from the bottom. Normally it would have been on the bottom, but it seemed like the cars were maybe going half a lane up. And I don't know if that had to do with the patches, the way that they semi-repaved the track a couple of years ago, or what exactly did that. But you couldn't jive to the bottom to make a pass. The only way to make a pass really was to trick somebody to get onto the outside of them, which just wasn't happening. So it became a little processional. I think Blaney was closing with a little bit more time. He probably could have won. Keselowski could have won it. Byron had a fast car, but really stretched the fuel, and that's how he ended up getting his second win of the season, I guess.
Yeah, I thought Briscoe, Byron, had, and even Blaney, I thought they had top 3 cars, but Keselowski was so much better than everybody else. And you saw it when he was up there with the lead. He just flew past everybody with clean air. Nobody could do that except Keselowski. And that's why it's a bummer. More of a bummer for Keselowski because he really needed to win, of course, to get to the playoffs. And then as a handicapper, it sucks because we talk about it all the time. When you get these long shot plays and all of a sudden it's right there for you, everything is setting up perfectly, and then it doesn't come through. It sucks. But
also interesting with how good Keselowski was to see Ryan Preece come from the 33rd starting spot to finish 5th, whereas Chris Buescher, who this is the points battle. Remember,
that's right.
The last playoff spot. Buescher was basically nowhere throughout the day. Preece came forward, was able to make up a lot of ground in the points, actually. So that battle is pretty tight as we go into these last 2 races here. Buescher still holds it, but he's only 23 points ahead of Preece at this point.
Yeah, and 23, especially when you've got a road course and a super speedway coming, that is not safe at all.
Nope.
So if you're Chris Buescher, at this point in time, look, I don't think you should be wagering on Chris Buescher to win races because Chris Buescher is going to be playing for points. So, and it happened in the race last year too. It's like Truex and Bowman, especially Bowman, I think it's important to note because I think he's an interesting long shot this week. They both decided to go for the points, but they were in the top 10, top 5, all first stage. So they decided, all right, we're going to, and this was a playoff race last year. So they decided to go for the points, but then when they came out, they never were able to get back up there again. But they gobbled up those points and whatever. I guess that's important. So keep that in mind. Buescher, that's what he's going to do. Why wouldn't you? Hey, everybody can pit if they want. I'm going for the stage points. That's all I'm doing. I don't care if I finish in 30th. As long as I can come out of here with like 15 stage points, that's all I care about.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially considering there are 3 spots left open in the playoffs. So we know at least one person's going to make it on points. It's unlikely that we're going to get 2 new winners over these 2 races. You might end up getting 1. You could potentially get 2.
You could get 2. Yeah.
Could get 2. We'll see. But Tyler Reddick's got to be feeling the best out of all of them. He's got a healthy points gap. But if you get 1 more winner coming in, then Alex Bowman's kind of on the bubble. So we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks. But I think you're right. Chris Buescher going to be going for all the stage points he can possibly get. Just taking anything he can get to walk away with extra points wherever he can. Okay,
so that was Iowa, and at least like I said, we don't want fuel mileage races here. That's getting boring, but definitely an improvement from year 1. So maybe without the cautions. And there is a possibility that one of these years, it'll happen. One of these years, they'll have one of those finishes like we were seeing in the early state parts of the race, where like you saw Keselowski and Byron going head to head for like about 50 laps. We're going to get that and when that happens at the end of the race, then that'll be fun. Especially if you have one of your drivers that you like up there. But so there is that. So there's worse tracks. Let's just put it okay. And Iowa was one of them last year. So at least there's an improvement there. So that's some positivity as good as I can give it for getting screwed. Okay. Let's now talk about this week's race. And we have another road course race. It is the last road course race of the regular season. One more just one more in the playoffs.
Roval.
That's it. Okay, so good for that. So, unfortunately, it's like the worst of the bunch. Even though who knows? We beat Mexico, and we have had. I think all the good moments we've had at Roval were they pre-NextGen.
Yes. Really just that first race, to be honest with you. I can't think of anything more memorable than Jimmy Johnson and what was it? Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. coming together and Blaney sneaking through for the win. That was really it.
Yeah, that was that was all timer. Yeah, we'll have to pop those highlights up again sometime just to have fun with it. Because that was crazy. Okay. So let's go ahead and pop up the odds for the race. And let's also make sure that we go over, because there are some trends that are going to be very important based on NextGen, of course, over the last 3 years. Keep this in mind. Now, this is important because Buescher won last year. Yes, he had that great last lap pass, physical pass. That's what you want to see. You want to see drivers like Chris Buescher. This is why we've talked before about drivers like Briscoe this year. We've said it with Haley at Chicago a couple of years ago. When you get these really good drivers like Van Gisbergen, and you have an opportunity to get physical with them and rough, and you need wins, you got to do it. And Buescher, I think, did it perfectly. He just didn't like wreck them. I don't think you could have had a better rub, whatever you want to call it, on a driver than Buescher had, because Van Gisbergen, of course, did a really good job to keep the car in control, to still give him a little bit of a shot. Maybe if he had another lap, he actually would have been able to maybe do something himself. But it was so far late in that run that he just wasn't able to get control of the car after that and get up to Buescher. He almost did, but he lost control there at the last turn, I believe, and then that was it for him. So that really well. But the reason I bring that up is because Buescher, statistically speaking, was 24th in qualifying and 16th in practice. Okay, that's why it was a fuel mileage win. All right, now let's look at Van Gisbergen, 3rd in qualifying, 4th in practice. So let's go by the reality of who really was the better driver. So Van Gisbergen was 3rd and 4th. In 2023, Byron was 2nd in qualifying, 3rd in practice. And in 2022, Larson was 2nd in qualifying and 1st in practice. So the bottom line with that is, CJ, at this track, even though, as you saw with Buescher, and I'm sure there'll be some fuel mileage drivers out there again on Sunday, and who knows, anything can happen. The fact is that the trends are telling you, if you qualify and practice in the top 5, you're going to be awfully tough to beat.
Yeah, and tell me how that's different than most other road courses. And same thing with the fuel mileage races. Road courses have become all about strategy. It's all about, it can be fuel mileage, but even more importantly, it's about having the right tires on, or the fresh tires on, to be able to make your way through the field in those last closing laps. So I think we see more frequently that the person that pits last is the one that's able to make up the ground. And I think that's pretty much what we saw last year. Chris Buescher had fresher tires. I think Van Gisbergen's were going away, if I remember correctly. He was pushed really hard by Buescher into that bus stop chicane that I was talking about, and kind of lost control a little bit. And that's when Buescher really got up to him and was able to give him the nudge and get him out of the way and make the pass. And if Van Gisbergen had better tires, fresher tires, a little bit better grip, managing that grip throughout the fuel run, I think we would have probably seen a different result. But yeah, if you qualify and start in practice inside the top 5 at any road course, let alone Watkins Glen, you're definitely going to be very hard to beat.
Okay, now as far as manufacturer, Chevy and Ford have been the 2 better manufacturers here. Chevy's been the best. Ford has been second. Toyota has not been very good here. They were okay in 2023. That was their best out of the 3 next-gen races. They ended up in the race. They had 5 of the top 8, including 2 of the top 3, but they still only led 3 laps in that race. That was their best weekend at Watkins Glen, leading 3 laps in the race. In 2024, last year, Toyota had 1 in the top 14 in qualifying, 2 of the top 14 in practice, and in the race had no finishers in the top 13. And the only laps they led were the last 4 laps of stage 1 by Truex. When I just said he took the win, the stage 1. In 2022, Toyota had no drivers in the top 9 in qualifying, 1 in the top 13 in practice. And in the race, they had no one in the top 7. And get this, they had just 1 in the top 19 without leading a lap. So this has not been a very good track for Toyota, to say the least. And that's why I am probably just going to stay away from all Toyotas at this point, except one that I've already zeroed in on. I think only one. Yeah, I think only one. And you'll see it, the reason why. But anyway, yeah, what do you think about is because actually if we just let's see, let me see. Is this where we get it? Yes. So there you go. See, this again shows you the absolute discrimination of Fords. And you should always take advantage of this. Always look for winning. I know we don't do it enough, and we should do it more often. Take a look at winning manufacturers because they discriminate Ford all the time. Now, there are some races that, look at the obvious ones where Ford is like dominating and they won like 8 straight. Then, of course, they're going to, but this is ridiculous. How they could have Toyota not just ahead of Ford, but 3 points ahead of Ford after what I just said.
This might be the best bet without looking at anything else. This might be the best bet of the weekend to just go ahead and take now. And the same was true last week at Iowa. You had Blaney that dominated the year before. And we just talked about Brad Keselowski and Ryan Blaney, who, if not all the cautions at the end of the race, either one of them could have won. And Ford was was third among this bet as well. I think the odds were more like 250 instead of 750. But when you got such great road course racers, and it's probably skewed this week because of Shane Van Gisbergen.
Sure.
But to your point, like, Ford won last year. They had 2 others inside the top 7. Only 3 Toyotas finished inside the top 20 in this race last year. And they're, almost half the price of Ford here. It just makes no sense. I would absolutely take that Ford today, right now.
Yeah. In the race, Ford had 6 of the top 11, including the winner, and they led 32 laps, which was, again, 28 more than Toyota did. And that was just last year. So yeah, Ford has definitely been better than Toyota. They just haven't been better than Chevy. That's it. Okay. So let's go with what do you think the number is?
Oh, it's got to be negative now. All right. Is it negative 150 maybe? Or is it just positive 250? Oh, positive 160.
That's a bargain. And I already took it. So I'm not waiting because that number's going down. And I think it will be minus 150 by race time. So grab this now. Unless for some reason you just think that, I don't know why you would think he'd lose, but luck, fuel mileage, like last year, go ahead, do it. Because that's how I'm going to do it. I've already put money on Van Gisbergen. Now I'm just going to go ahead and look for a few bargains. And there are some bargains out there, and especially, take a look at some of the drivers who are not in the playoffs, the ones that really need to make these fuel mileage decisions, because they're going to do it, especially if they know they don't have really good cars. They're going to make those decisions, and some might make it, some might not. It's luck. We get it. But we've seen enough of these fuel mileage wins this year to say that, sure, it can happen. So, all right. Who do you think is next?
Oh, yeah. Good question. Probably Larson.
Whoever you were going to say, you were not going to be right.
Then I have no idea.
Come on, think about it.
Connor Zilich?
Yes.
Good for him.
And look at the odds.
Wow. Okay.
How ridiculous. Now, see, they were really ridiculous. We laughed our asses off for the Shane Van Gisbergen odds the first couple of years, year and a half. And then he finally won. And like I said, I was true to my word, and the evidence is there, and I'm all in. Now they're going to Connor Zilich. And we're going to just laugh our asses off now for as long as we need to, because this is absolutely ridiculous.
So he's getting a boost even more than he normally would, because at what was it, Sonoma? I think it was Sonoma. He went head to head with SVG in the Xfinity race, and Zilich came out on top. But keep in mind, SVG has not been driving an Xfinity car all this year. He's been driving the Cup car all this year, and they're very different cars. And yes, he has experience and won a lot of road course races in Xfinity. But Zilich has got more, seat time counts for a lot, whether you're a great driver or not. Just being in the same car every single weekend helps you out. And I think that largely had to do with that race. I didn't watch every single lap of it, so maybe there was more to it that I didn't know, but I think Zilich is definitely getting a boost from that. He's been quite good. He's got a great future ahead of him. He's going to be a great driver. He's good on ovals. He's good on road courses. This weekend, though, as a matter of fact, he's the only one that's doing triple duty. So he's got
all that on top of it then too.
He's got the truck race on Friday. He's filling in for injured Stuart Friesen, who was in the playoffs and ended up in a crash a couple of weeks ago. Hope he gets better. But Zilich will be filling in for him. He's got the Xfinity ride on Saturday, and he was planning to do the Cup race on Sunday as well. So he's going to have a lot of seat time, a lot of or track time, I should say, this weekend. But the opposite is true from what we saw at Sonoma, where Zilich was the one in the Xfinity car all the time. This weekend, SVG is the one that's in the Cup car all the time. So it's going to be a lot for Zilich to come up there. Not to say it couldn't happen, because anything can happen in motor racing, and
sure,
great talent to come. But I agree. I think this is a very big stretch to put him as second favorite here.
So are there 4 Trackhouse drivers this week? Because they are all racing. I guess I've answered my question. But the reason I'm bringing it out there is, what are they bringing Xfinity guys to take over to run the Cup car for Zilich? Because how else can they just magically come up with all these? They don't have 4 cars.
Yeah, Zilich, Van Gisbergen, Suarez, and Chastain all entered, obviously. So there's 4.
Is that how it usually happens?
Scanning just to see if there are 5. But yeah, so Trackhouse is one of the teams probably most notable that will, at specific races, almost all the road courses, I think they've done it, bring in a special guest driver to be able to give them experience. And obviously with their success of bringing in SVG at Chicago, made kind of their signature move to do that. And Zilich is an up-and-coming road racer background, good on ovals as well, so why not bring him in? So they've been giving him time as well. I think he's also, if I'm not mistaken, part of their development program.
And will he be full-time next year?
To be determined. We've got...
Wow, really?
Yeah.
What are they waiting for?
One would assume that it will be him filling in for Daniel Suarez, but...
Well, that's like a decision.
Well, it might have already been made.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless I missed something so far.
Yeah.
As I know, it's not been confirmed yet, but that's the prevailing assumption.
Okay. So you think Larson's here?
Yeah, I think Larson's next. Byron. Yeah, there's Larson. Tied with Byron. Really? That far of a jump back? Wow.
Kyle Larson, 10-1. But let's keep this in mind. Kyle Larson this year on the road courses, 32nd, 36th, and 35th. Also 13th in Chicago. So this has not been good for Larson this season. And his average start is 7.4 at Watkins Glen. Average finish 12.2. So even though he gets off to good starts, he doesn't necessarily always complete it, because he has 38 laps of lead here in 10 races. 32 of them happened in both of his wins. And so when he's won, he hasn't done anything close to dominating like SVG. But yeah, you are getting 10-1 because if SVG wasn't in this race, and I'm not even going to consider speaking up for Connor, but let's just say SVG wasn't in this race. Yeah, Larson's probably 5-1, something like that.
Yeah, I would think so. And Byron makes sense. I mean, he's got a win, but really two other top 10, sorry. But that was the only time he led laps at this track, was his win back in 2023. Kyle Larson, I just feel, is like a more consistent road racer, good road racer. Back-to-back wins at this track, 2 top 10s in the older car before that as well, before those back-to-back wins. Total of 38 laps led throughout his career, 10 starts. That's not a ton. Like you said, he hasn't dominated, but he's done enough to get out front and get the victories, which I feel like he can do this weekend, assuming he doesn't qualify 20th like he did last season.
Yeah, the thing is, Byron has been hit or miss in his 6 Cup races here. He's either been in the top 10 with a win, or he's been outside the top 20. But the big difference between Byron and Larson is this year, because Byron is second, ninth, and eighth in his 3 road courses. And we just told you what Larson was. So Larson is clearly the better career road racer than Byron is. We know Byron's getting much better. And maybe in a couple of years, Byron will be equal to Larson overall. But Byron has definitely been better than Larson this year. So it's, it's up to you what you want to do. All right, let's go to the next group. So as far as this one, I still don't understand why Chase is getting these good odds. He's 16-1. Kyle at 18-1. Kyle is one of those drivers that'll be just like Buescher. So if he has any way of getting close to SVG late in the race, SVG is in trouble. So that's going to be the case. There's just no way that Kyle Busch is not going to figure out a way to get by him. The question is, can he put himself in that spot? He's been good this year on the road courses. Yeah, he had that big mess up in the rain in Mexico, but he was 5th at COTA, as we know, almost won that race, and then 10th at Sonoma, and also 5th at Chicago. So he's been good in this scenario. He has not started in the top 5 at Watkins Glen since 2019. So keep that in mind when we talk on Saturday. It should be right around, I think it should be around 2:30 that we'll be talking on Saturday, or I'll be available with the show on to talk about all this stuff. Kyle's got 2 wins at Watkins Glen. Of course, he hasn't had anything at NextGen. And he's only had, in his last 5 races, he's only had 1 top 5 and led just 2 laps. So there's that. By the way, check out Elliott. In his last 3 pre-NextGen races, heading up to NextGen, he was 2nd, 1st, and 1st, leading 132 laps combined. The 3 NextGen races, 4th, 32nd, 19th, leading a combined 29 laps. So he's been much better here pre-NextGen. So there's that, but you're still getting 16-1. And this year on the road courses, 4th, 3rd, and 3rd, and yet he's still 16-1. McDowell, meanwhile, we see, this is why we say what we say about drivers like Zilich. It has nothing to do with talent. Yes, there's definitely everything that CJ said about experience. That is true. That is a big reason. And what's another big reason is the team. You just can't throw some Xfinity team up to the Cup Series and equipment, and just, even though his equipment is still Cup, but still, it's like you're not on par with the rest of the group. And to expect, just because the driver is, doesn't mean everything else is. And we know there's more to winning races than just the driver. And that's why McDowell is not, I mean, you can't tell me that a McDowell, for whatever reason, I know it's a decent team and they've had some decent success, but it's still nothing like the big teams. You just have to believe that a McDowell was on one of these big teams, that he would have won one of these road courses lately. Matter of fact, he's been 11th, 5th, and 4th this year. He had that dominating start at Chicago until the car screwed up on him. He had electrical issues in this race in 2023 when he led 17 laps. He led 7 laps in 7th last year and led 14 laps, finishing 6th in 2022. So McDowell is definitely a good competitor here. But it's up to you what you'd want to do with these 3. I think based on what I'd probably go Elliott, McDowell, and Busch, just because I don't know. I just don't know if I could trust Kyle Busch, that team this year, to win a race.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, what gives me hope for him this weekend would really be, he was pretty competitive at COTA. So maybe something comes back here at Watkins Glen, if I'm remembering correctly. Otherwise, he was 30th last year, 14th, 32nd the year before that, or 2 years before that. Michael McDowell gets out there, leads laps. He's always good at road courses. It takes a team. This team's been together all season. and been doing pretty well. So no reason why Michael McDowell couldn't be up there. Chase Elliott, I think all of his road course statistics were better pre-next gen car. We talked about that several times, but he's starting to figure it out and he's getting better. Had a couple weeks of finishes outside of the top 10, but he's been finishing still inside of the top 15, and his top 20 streak is still alive. So still just ultra consistent. Maybe this is a week that he can return back to the top 10, maybe even move up a little bit further, get inside the top 5, maybe fight for the win. We'll see. Christopher Bell, Toyota, didn't really talk about him, but what I've noticed with him is since I want to say since like Charlotte, it's been like every other week. He has a good race and then he has a bad race. Top 10, not so good. Top 10, not so good. Top 10, not so good. He wasn't so good last week, so perhaps he might be the Toyota that can get inside the top 10 this week. But again, the best he's ever finished at Watkins Glen is third. 2 other top 10s. He was 14th last year, hasn't led any laps. So I think my ranking here is Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Kyle Busch, and then Christopher Bell.
Yeah, I didn't even put in Bell. 2 reasons. 1, Toyota. 2, because again, from my just you'll have to follow me through this because I've got Van Gisbergen. So I'm not taking a 10-1 or an 11-1 driver too. I have to take better driver odds, better, and I'm not taking a touch of Toyota. But just like you said, no laps. He hasn't even let a lap here. And by the way, look, there's good things about Christopher Bell here. He's had an average start of 17.3 and an average finish of 8. That's excellent. And he's been excellent this year in the 3 races, all top 5s. Even though he hasn't really dominated, or looked like, wow, look how good Christopher Bell is on the road courses this year. He's just finished well. And I don't know if it was a fuel mileage win in Coda, but that was one of those situations. Oh, that's right. That was that situation we talked about where he pitted last on the last pit run. Tires were fresher late. So that's why he won that race. So anyway, but yeah, that's why look, Bell's, we know he's 11-1 for a reason, and he should be, but he's driving a Toyota. So
yeah, and I just checked, and it's since Chicago, he's been doing that every other week type of thing. So not as long as Charlotte, but still quite a while.
And I believe just 1 top 5 in his last 7.
That's
overall.
correct. Yep.
So okay, let's now move on to the next group, and you're going to get some good numbers here because of the 2 heavy favorites. And out of this group, I definitely like Reddick. We know how good Reddick can be on the road courses. He was 3rd and 6th and 20th this year, 3rd at Chicago. In 4 Cup races, he has 3 top 10s, and he does have an average start of 10.5, which is pretty good. But he's only led 2 laps. Hence, I guess why he's 20-1. I'm not betting him, of course. I think, maybe it's, I don't know. I just think that if you look at the kind of season that he's had, because you just talked about Bell, and we just went over this recently where it looked like he had this really bad run and then he started to get better. And then all of a sudden in his last 3 races, after he had 3 really good results in a row, he has now gone back to being 12th, 29th, and 19th. So not sure what's going on there with Reddick. That's something that maybe he has more than enough time to get things ready to compete for a championship. I get that. But what really sticks out to me more than anything is just the fact that you're getting 20-1 on a really good road course driver. The only big issue, of course, which is why I won't take him because I've got other options, is that he's driving a Toyota. But just in this group, I still think that he would be the one that I would take. AJ is the other guy that I would consider. He's got to win. That was way back in 2014. And how about this? He has started 6th in all 3 next-gen races with 2 top 5s. So I think AJ is maybe one of those drivers that, who knows, maybe he can steal a playoff spot on Sunday.
Yeah, I would actually put AJ Allmendinger top out of this bunch for me because of his consistency at Watkins Glen. Last year was kind of an anomaly. He finished 36th, but he had to retire due to transmission issue. He's been okay on the road courses this year as well. I think his best finish was a sixth at Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. He was kind of mid-pack, but had some problems in the other races. If things go well for him, he doesn't get caught up in an issue, doesn't have a mechanical problem, his team doesn't break down on him, I think he should absolutely be within the top five for the race on Sunday, because he always has been at this track. And if things go his way, perhaps you see AJ versus SVG for the win. So my ranking here would be Allmendinger, Reddick, Chastain. I hesitate to it's kind of flipping the coin between him and Buescher. I think Buescher is a better road course racer in general, but again, winning back-to-back races at the same track is going to be really hard for him.
Plus, and he wants to gobble up points.
And he wants to gobble up points, exactly like you said. But then you look at Chastain, and last year he started from pole and finished fourth and led 51 laps, which is great, but that really comes against the run of form for Chastain at Watkins Glen. Prior to that, his best finish was only 12th. So I'm a little bit hesitant on Chastain. I think Allmendinger and Reddick would be your two choices. For me, Allmendinger I would put ahead of Reddick.
Yeah, Buescher's been good here. 3 top 10s and 3 next gen with the win. 2 top 10s in the road courses this year. No top 10s for Chastain in the road courses this year. Even though, like you said, he did have that dominating run early from the pole. Still finished 4th. AJ is just the only thing with AJ is he hasn't had a top 10 on the road courses this year. The best was Chicago, as you mentioned. But hey, it only takes one. And we also know that AJ is definitely going to be one of these drivers that if he is there with a chance, he is not going to let SVG stand in his way. So, okay. Now we got some more odds on drivers that are pretty decent. And I actually think, look, Hocevar just too young, too inexperienced for these road course races. He's just too erratic, and it's just no way. But the other 3 are all good possibilities. The problem, of course, with the top 2, again, is we're dealing, especially with Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs is in a situation where we just keep thinking he's getting close. He's getting close. He's been doing really well towards the end, but he's going to need a win, and you're going to get good odds. Unfortunately, he's driving a Toyota just like Briscoe. Briscoe, I would have liked too, because Truex. Here's the thing with Truex. Truex had a good history at Watkins Glen, good road course driver. But keep this in mind, even though he had the good run early last year, gobbled up those stage points, like I said, he was never a factor after that. In his 3 next-gen races with this car, Truex, he never finished in the top 5, had two races outside the top 20, and only led those 4 laps from last year at the end of 1. So Briscoe's not like coming in with some sort of like great car from next-gen Watkins Glen. Briscoe, meanwhile, has actually been okay on his own here. So that gives you some possibility. And he's never had a top 10 start here. And we know he's been doing awesome on qualifying. So I give him a shot if he qualifies in the top 5. Problem is he's driving a Toyota just like Gibbs. And I think that rules him out. At least you're getting good odds. And then Bowman is the one that I like the most. Because as I said, I thought last year he had the top 10 car early in the race. So what happens if he doesn't stay out for points and goes in like everyone else and comes back? That I think is something that he might do. I mean, he might look at it at the other end where he's got, 60 points up? I think so.
Let's see
so does he race it like Buescher and say, no, I'm going to do what I did last year, and I'm just going to, if I'm in the top 10, I'm just gobbling up the points? He could do that.
Yeah.
The difference is you're getting 35-1, and I think that's a big enough number that you might maybe get lucky, and that's not what's going to happen. And he just puts himself in position. So, and again, look at his teammates: Larson, Byron, Elliott. They're all really good here. And Bowman has 2 top 10s on the road courses this year with a top 5 and a top 10 at Chicago. So he's been really good in these races this year. Other than that, I think that'd be the one thing I'd be a little bit concerned with would be whether or not he would go for the points over the win. So who do you like who would you go with out of these 4 drivers, considering 2 of them are Toyotas?
Wow. Yeah. Tough question. I'll start by saying Bowman's 40 points up on Busher, who's in the 16th spot, and then roughly the 60 points, like you said, over Preece outside of the playoff points. So just based on Bowman's history at Watkins Glen, I have a hard time selecting him. He's got a best finish of 14th, which he did 3 times. It's only 1 lap. So it kind of puts him out. Gibbs has a top 5 here. He finished 5th in 2023, and he had some pretty good road course results this season as well. Chase Briscoe finished 2nd at Sonoma, so that was a good road course event for him too. I'd probably go with Gibbs, but only narrowly over Briscoe. And the reason I say only narrowly is because I'm factoring in Chase Briscoe's recent form off of road courses as well, which are 3 runner-up finishes in the last 4 races. Ty Gibbs is pretty much the opposite. Finished 21st and 21st in the last 2 races, but prior to that, he was runner-up in Chicago and 7th at Sonoma. So I do think Gibbs is a better road course racer. Briscoe very hot right now, which makes it difficult to choose between the two, but I'd just give the edge to Gibbs just based on his road course abilities, mainly from his Xfinity days.
Yeah, keep in mind that when Gibbs did have a top 5 starting run in 2023, he did finish 5th. So, that's what you want to look at. Honestly, I don't know. You're going to lose a whole lot. It hasn't happened yet. So if Gibbs qualifies 5th, I don't think those odds are going to drop all that much. So I think you just wait to see what Gibbs does in qualifying. Briscoe, I think the way he's been qualifying, you can just assure that he's more than likely going to start in the top 10, if not the top 5, unless he does something stupid. So it's up to you, because you could lose points on Briscoe. I think you could lose 10 points in Briscoe if he starts in the top 5 or on the pole or anything like that. So I'd probably go with Briscoe now. But I know what you're talking about with Bowman as well. But he is overall a really good underrated road course driver. So, and a sneaky winning driver, which is something that might happen on Sunday. Okay. As far as now, we're getting into long shots here. Out of this group, really, Logano, I'd probably be the only one that I would consider. I'm not going to take any of these drivers. Blaney hasn't been good at all at Watkins Glen in his career for the most part. Cindric has been very disappointing at road courses this year. Logano, though, has got to win. And he also has some decent results here in NextGen. He's led a few laps. So, yeah, I mean, I don't like any of them, but I'd probably go Logano, especially since he's 55-1.
He's finished inside the top 15 every year here with the NextGen car, and I don't think you can say the same for the other two. Cindric, I agree. I think road courses should be his bread and butter, that he cleaned up in the Xfinity series. And when he started in Cup, he was excellent on them as well, getting out leading laps. But the whole team situation comes into play. His team kind of let him down. He had some mechanical failures, wasn't able to see him out. But since then, I like this season in particular, I've expected much more from him on these types of tracks, and we just haven't seen it. Ryan Blaney, just because he's racing so well right now, could definitely be in the top 10, but he's not the greatest road course racer, like you said. So yeah, I guess probably Logano. Suarez, you can write off. Looking for a new job, unfortunately, next season. But with Logano, 15th, 10th, and 3rd in the last 3 races here, led 15 laps in 2022, led 6 laps last year, probably stands out amongst this group.
Yeah, and Cindric was a very good Xfinity Series road course driver, and that's what really got him going, and has good results in Cup. But yeah, this year something's happened. Okay, now we get to the last. This is the last realistic long shot group, and I think all 3. So let's just do this. I think all 3 of these guys here, Hamlin, Preece, and Keselowski, are all good, deep, long shot plays. Hamlin is like the only true Toyota I'm willing to take because he's 80-1, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. You've got a driver who has 6 top 5s and a win at this track. And in his last 8 races at the track, He has 5 top 5s, a runner-up, and a win. He's led all 21 of his laps that he's ever led during that stretch. And the bottom line is, because he's 80-1, so it's a big enough number. You want to throw a couple bucks, fine. But even if you want to wait on Denny Hamlin at 80-1 to see where he qualifies, that's okay, because he's such a big long shot that even if he qualifies well, I mean, how much can you drop him? Maybe 40 to 20 range. And so you're still getting a good number, but it's up to you, because maybe that's what the gamble would be. I'd be willing to gamble now at 80-1 that he qualifies well. And if he qualifies well, if he qualifies in the top 5, he will be somebody that you want to keep an eye on. Meanwhile, Priest, yeah, I don't know what to say with Priest, but he did finish he finished 9th last year, I believe. And that was not with this team. Average start 25.8. Okay, so again, look at Ryan Preece driving a Ford if he qualifies well, and another driver that might go the route of fuel mileage, just like Brad Keselowski. And Keselowski was actually there at the end of the race last year, and I believe it was also fuel mileage, and he just didn't make it with the rest, but he was there. He was top 5, late in the race. And in 3 road course races this year, he's got a 15 and an 11. He's coming off an 11th at Sonoma. And keep this in mind too, Keselowski has had a lot of success at this track. It just hasn't been with Roush. He has 6 top 10s, 4 top 5s in 11 races with Penske, but he hasn't had a top 10 with Roush. He's also never started inside the top 15 with Roush. So I'd be willing to put money on Hamlin, Priest, and Keselowski like a group, as a super long shot group, just hoping at least one of them qualifies in the top 5 and it has a chance. And if they don't, then maybe I know Priest and Keselowski might, especially Keselowski, might have to do the fuel mileage run, and you never know if that might work.
Yeah, why do you think Hamlin is so low this week? Because the results, I would say, don't necessarily back up.
I don't know.
He's running extremely well. He finished 4th at Chicago. Yeah, last week was a off week for him, a bummer. But he's got 3 top 5s, including Chicago, from the 4 prior races. He's won at Watkins Glen. He was in the top 5. He was runner-up just two races ago at Watkins Glen, started on pole, and he's got the win, average finish of 15.4. So it seems odd to me that for some reason why he's this far down. I would put him certainly at the top. Toyota. Yeah, I guess that's probably it.
Maybe he'd be 40-1 or 50-1, but like Logano territory. But because it's Toyota, they're pushing it back more. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I could see Priest, who finished 9th, and Keselowski, who's pretty regularly in the top 10 here. Both of them could definitely step up and be in the mix as well. It's just shocking to see Hamlin this far down. I think any of those 3 would be a good play. And since you're getting such great odds on them, why not do all 3, just a couple dollars on each? And some of their odds are going to drop for sure.
Yeah, especially if you're going with Van Gisbergen. You might as well throw some long shots in there. And the ones that, so what you want to do if you got Van Gisbergen for sure is make sure you covered a little bit on potential fuel mileage. Good, decent racers, smart, good teams, that kind of thing. Trying to do crazy stuff to get into the playoffs, because that could be the only thing that could screw you up if you have someone like Van Gisbergen, because that's what you don't want to see happen if you're putting a big money on a short price driver like Van Gisbergen. Okay. And then, yeah, these are all the other drivers. I don't see anybody else for any other reason unless you do.
No, I really don't. Yeah, I think it's, you got your favorite SVG. You've got a couple guys up the front that might, if things go their way, might be able to challenge him. And then you got those, I think, that are fighting to get into the playoffs. I could throw a Hail Mary from a strategy perspective and sneak a win. I think any true unknown long shot's going to come out and win this race.
Okay. So I already said who I'm picking. So it's your turn.
Chase Elliott.
Very smart. 16-1. Okay. Again, I'm going to go down here. So where do I want to go? I'll go ahead with Hamlin.
Wow, really deep for your second. I will take AJ Allmendinger as my second.
And I'll take Keselowski.
Then I'll take Preece.
Okay. All right. Now let's take a look here. What do they have here? Driver props. Let's see if any of these things are any interesting.
Oh, we forgot. Ty Gibbs won the $1 million.
Okay. So what does that do?
Gives them an extra $1 million this season to take home, I guess.
Is that it? So was there confusion there about whether or not the driver getting it or the owners?
I'm sure it's written into their contract, a portion of whatever prize money they end up winning. I'm sure they get a set percent.
You would think so.
For it or something like that. Yeah. I doubt it's $1 million to Ty.
Well, but that was the confusion. That's exactly how it was marketed.
Sure. So is the All-Star race win, and so is the Clash.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, people need to realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Anything look interesting here?
Not yet.
Byron Chastain's not that bad.
Yeah.
I know it's minus 150, but
yeah, that's
not
probably
that bad.
That's out there. I think the others are too close.
Group winner. Oh, this is silly. Okay. And as far as race props, I would definitely.
Yeah, I think Ford is a good one here.
Take a chance on Ford.
That's my favorite bet. Is still, after we've gone through all the odds, the Ford to win here is still my favorite.
I mean, even if you just found somewhere where it's Ford against Toyota, you're getting 3 extra points. So you're probably getting, if you just matched up Ford and Toyota, that means that you should be getting what, 2-1, 3-1 on Toyota against Ford. Take that.
Yep.
I would do that for sure. Okay. So what's going on at RotoWire? Because we are going to have a look at it on Friday into Saturday. Of course, that's when I'll have my update qualifying report, like I said, somewhere around 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. So you'll have the RotoWire report all ready by then.
Yep, fantasy picks and some best bets will detail out there for you. I can give you a sneak preview that Ford bet, if those odds stay like that, will definitely be one that is in there. We'll have that for you on rotowire.com and in the description of this video for you on Friday. And then we'll have the NASCAR Power Rankings out on RotoWire Monday following the race.
And again, don't forget the next 2 weeks, it'll be Saturday night racing. And so far we're only 3 weeks away, and CJ's schedule still says that he's available. I haven't even asked him, but I'm just going to go ahead and just,
I'll tell you now, if it rains, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, that's what I figured anyway. If it winds up being a Sunday race, I know I wouldn't even count on it. But yeah, so that is again sometime around 10 o'clock ish, I would think, on that Saturday that we would be coming to you live in the last half hour of the race at Daytona, which could be real exciting, especially if some of those drivers in contention for a win might be stealing a playoff spot. And then also check back maybe next week. Like I said, it's one of these weeks. You never know if I'll pop in for a late race, show, but Richmond, I really wouldn't count on it either. That's never really an exciting track. So
hasn't been for quite a while.
Yeah. That's like there's no way I would have done something like Iowa. That would have been, you can't do some of these tracks late. You're basically waiting for a caution, hopefully. and that's no fun. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed before. That's a great way to support the channel. Also, hit the like button too. That's also very important. And look out for Kevin Rogers. He'll have his video out. Usually we post that video on Saturday mornings, and that gives you the opportunity to see Kevin's picks. It's only like a 4-minute video, 4 to 5 minute video every Saturday morning. He gives his top pick of the week and his matchup of the week. And then later on, you get my qualifying and practice report. So that'll be coming up later on, as well as links to CJ's rotowire.com DFS report. So for CJ Raduna, Greg DePalma, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday, I guess, at 4 o'clock, right, CJ?